Bonjour, mesdames, mesdemoiselles. It gives me great pleasure to be your cicerone on our adventurous little voyage into fashion land.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most egregious style statements from the last 10 decades that should have never seen the light of day. Join us as we rank these aesthetic low points from tiers S through D. S being the equivalent of a dumpster fire, and D the lesser evil.
Do you prefer fashion victim or ensemble challenge?
The 2010s. Call it recency bias or denial, but the 10s were rather tame. The cool kids club turned to subtle offenses like rocking harsh dip dye in the name of Ombre.
I thought it looked so amazing, and I know I've seen a lot of celebrities doing the whole pink ombre on their hair, and as soon as I saw Demi Lovato's, it's like something just clicked in my brain. Something was like, you know, Breland, you really should do this.
They completed the look by slipping on some shutter shades channeling Kanye West, which we now know wasn't the flex we made it out to be. However, it was another trend that tainted the 2010s.
This is Malibu lip liner, and I kind of put it all over my lips. I would put Libra right in the center, pat it out, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is my jam.
When Kylie Jenner shook the internet with her newly filled lips, it sparked a movement powered by insecurity. The rise of duck lips profited cosmetic surgeons and KJ, who capitalized on her impact by launching lip kits for overdrawing your pout. Although pervasive, the new look elicited no more than an eye roll, so this decade gets a D.
I mean, like, I already have lipstick all over my face.
I don't feel like I could walk out of here and be like, check me out, guys. Like, I'm totally me right now.
The 2000s. The aughts had a revolutionary sartorial identity. Fashion today owes its low-rise jeans and rimless glasses to Y2K. However, with timeless wins came disastrous fails.
There are no rules in this house. I'm not like a regular mom. I'm a cool mom.
One such 2000s wardrobe staple was the velour tracksuit, courtesy of Juicy Couture, because if Paris Hilton was wearing them, they had to be cool, right? Wrong. Elevated pajamas are not a serve. Another Hilton-led craze was flaunting tiny dogs as accessories, which sometimes led to their abandonment when the fad passed. Still, nothing compares to the tragic trifecta of Uggs with mini skirts over pants.
You screamed at me when I wore Ugg boots with short skirts because you said that that was your look. It was everyone's look, Sass.
Even the mighty Beyoncé fell victim to the curse of the Ugg and styled it with a skirt. How could mere mortals like us stand a chance? This trend is going straight to tier A.
By this time tomorrow, Daniel and Bradford will be as out as Ugg boots.
I can't wait.
The 1990s. This decade oscillated between extremes. Slinky slips and baggy grunge fits were all the rage, but the dark side of 90s style was confusing at best. You'd imagine life was all sunshine and roses with how prevalent blossom hats were.
Stop all your fussing, slap on a smile, come out and walk in the sun for a while.
This absurdly large millinery was the embodiment of toxic optimism. Simultaneously, the bleak heroin chic aesthetic was in vogue, promoting the unhealthiest beauty standards. However, participants in these trends still had hope for redemption, which wasn't the case for enthusiasts of the infamous skinny brows.
It's like a baby caterpillar chasing its mama.
Look, you gotta help me out, okay? Look, I have a magic marker. I want you to fill in the skinny one so I don't look stupid for my pictures.
Okay, first of all, this is green.
90s kids who gave in to the temptation of plucking their eyebrows down to a pencil-thin line only for the hype to fade will never recover from the trauma. For this, off to tier A the 90s brows go.
Don't say a word.
The 1980s. The final boss of unforgivable fashion choices during this period was preceded by a few weaker villains.
As he turned my chair around to face the mirror, I saw it.
He permed me!
The 80s perm left unsuspecting victims with irreversible chemical damage for life. Similarly, rubber bracelets never looked half as fabulous on ordinary people as they did on Madonna. However, the fashion industry really set us up for failure when it gave us the MC Hammer pants.
You can't touch this. You can't touch this.
These saggy messes popularized by the eponymous rapper were a test to see how far humanity would go to fit in. Needless to say, the results were disappointing because people couldn't get enough of them. So, the MC Hammer pants must be buried deep in our collective unconscious and never spoken of again. We're banishing them to the S tier.
I tour around the world, from London to the Bay. It's hammer, go, hammer, MC Hammer, yo, hammer, and the rest can go and play. You can't touch this.
The 1970s. Something strange was afoot in the fashion world during the disco era. Punk rockers like the Sex Pistols had fans sporting safety pin piercings all over their faces. Meanwhile, renowned designers were pushing their shoulder pad agenda down women's throats.
Ma non starebbe a me riconoscere la mia bravura per aver saputo imporre il mio stile nel mondo. Però lo dicono i giornali, lo dice la gente, lo dice il compratore, lo dice il pubblico finale.
Neither of these had the X factor to make them truly repulsive, though. That's where patchwork skirts came in.
I found I couldn't concentrate.
What's the matter?
You.
Now, we get that patchwork garments popped up during desperate times, and their 70s iteration was born out of a preference for sustainability among hippies. However, with all due respect, we are here to hate. So we just can't ignore how aesthetically challenged they were. As Zoomers would say, they're painfully mid. So tier B is where they belong.
That is the ugliest effing skirt I've ever seen.
The 1960s. The defiant, nonconformist energy of the counterculture decade has our respect. However, girl groups like the Ronettes making white lipstick a thing took the rebellious spirit a bit too far. This pale makeup was a jarring contrast to the vividly patterned tights that became a must-have during this time. That said, the real center of attention was a different beast entirely.
Ratting Daddy. And our First Lady, Jacqueline Kennedy, does it.
I don't believe that.
What do you mean you don't believe that? How else would it look that way?
I believe that it is naturally stiff.
Ladies donned beehives on their heads. Or that's what they called the supersized bouffants they hauled around atop their crowns. The big hair illusion was created by teasing one's locks to death and setting them in place with gravity-defying hairspray. Naturally, hair health was severely compromised, and for that, this trend deserves to be in tier A.
Your hair is your glory, there's a scripture in the Bible, but I think we might have overdone it.
The 1950s. Post-war fashion in the West saw much hullabaloo over the ideal feminine silhouette.
You mustn't give up the battle of the bulge.
Look who's talking fatso. You didn't get that corporation on lettuce and tomato sandwiches.
Yeah, but sweetie, nobody pays to look at me in an evening gown.
Dior's new look, which originated in the 40s and was favored well into the 50s, presented an hourglass shape. As a response, Chanel came out with the more relaxed tweed suit. There were also a few hard misses like the poodle skirt. However, many women found personal hell in the eternally uncomfortable bullet bras normalized by sweater girls like Marilyn Monroe.
Once I was in Atlantic City and all the gentlemen in the hotel wanted to sit at my table.
Oh, well, I can understand that.
Some of them even went to the head waiter to give him money.
Despite their disturbingly conical shape, these undergarments were absolutely pointless, serving no purpose other than catering to the male gaze. However, just because it would be a generalization to suggest that all women who adopted this style were sexualized against their will, we'll relegate this trend to tier C.
Hey, look, someone's coming.
Oh dear, what'll I do?
Quick, hold this around your neck tight.
The 1940s. This was a dark time in world history, so innovation in fashion came mostly in the form of utilitarianism.
Tell us more, oh teacher, tell us more, more, more.
As resources became scarce, accessories like hats were impacted. Thus, smaller designs like fascinators and doll hats were favored over more flashy options. However, in this attempt to make the best of what's available, menswear-inspired hats were shrunk into comical miniature versions.
I'm gonna send a military escort to take me to the train tonight, but I thought that was too much.
That is too much. Way too much.
You couldn't possibly take someone seriously when they were serving Charlie Chaplin realness with their tiny derby. That said, as this was a fashion faux pas influenced by wartime restrictions, we'll go easy on it and place it in tier C.
Focus on you first, chapeau, like this black Persian sailor hat.
The 1930s. Inspired by Hollywood stars who sold an escapist fantasy, one group of women during this decade opted for the fanciest Greek goddess strip. In the wake of the First World War, the other half started going out to work. A significant way this affected fashion was by causing the decline of gloves.
I've had 2 years to grow claws, Mother. Jungle red!
As these inefficient accoutrements left the spotlight, manicures took their place. However, snobs associated painted nails with being unkempt.
Who has nails like these?
Everybody?
Well, tomorrow I would like to see clean fingers.
In response, the girlies reached for the half-moon manicure, where the base of the nail and its tip were left devoid of lacquer to prove they were well-groomed too. The style caught on, even among celebrities. In hindsight, though, it looked incomplete and was screaming for validation. The lukewarm Tier D is calling its name.
Grin and bear it.
Oh, no, now that I know, do you think I'll stand by
Please,
it?
Mike. This can only mean one thing for us. I thought I'd rather have you hate me than love me.
The 1920s. The spirit of the Jazz Age was characterized by liberation from societal expectations and corsets alike, thanks to the popularity of pretty little flapper dresses. However, such freedom was not found in the beachwear department.
Sleeping Beauties at 1925 bathing spots look like this.
The fact that swimsuits were even a thing back then was radical, but conservative codes of conduct dictated their design. Thus, the bathing dress made out of tacky taffeta was born.
Now we just have to find the wimple that goes with it.
Give me that, please.
Now, modesty is understandable given the era. Yet what's baffling is that a lady could go right to jail if her swimsuit was supposedly too short. Besides, they had to be paired with stockings and shoes. That feels like the real crime, and so Tier A is where it'll go.
One good laugh deserves another. So here's a second look at the best in beachwear in 1921.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. In conclusion, after careful deliberation on the edge of crashing out, we have our fashion and beauty trend tier list. In the unholy S tier sit the cursed 80s MC Hammer pants that we would delete the existence of if we could. The 20s, 60s, 90s, and 2000s are in the acutely aggravating A tier. The 70s deserve a bombastic side-eye, and so we put them in tier B. Meanwhile, the 40s and the 50s are in the mildly annoying tier C. Finally, we weren't too pressed about the 30s and the 2010s, which leaves them in tier D. Funnily enough, we're only halfway through the 2020s, but we can already see some contemporary trends that could potentially shake up this ranking. From soap brows to buccal fat removal and caterpillar lashes that crawled straight out of an eldritch nightmare, this decade may just be the WOT, aka the worst of all time.
Catastrophe. Just go.
Which trend from the 2020s do you think is a hot mess, and have you hopped on that bandwagon? This is a safe space, so feel free to confess in the comments down below.
I'm wearing like these cute like jogger slacks with a crop top.
Oh, I love crop tops.